Okay, guys, to solve these four inequalities, we're going to need to first remember the basic signs. Hopefully you already know that, and if that's a review, that's great. But just to make sure, so we've got these two signs. These are called strict inequalities. And this one is less than, and that resembles letter L, right? So if you think of letter L like that, and you can just turn it and it becomes a letter L. So that's less than. And so the other one is greater than. Now, what happens if the inequality is not strict? And we have this part of like inequality and equality. So this would be less than or equal to. And that's important because for graphing, that's going to matter. And then over here, that's going to be greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to. So just remember that like if it's not L, then it's greater. Okay, so let's go to the first one. So first one says, okay, x is greater than or equal to 0. So this means greater than, so that means that everything to the right of 0, greater than 0. Okay, so let's say just 0 is over here, and then greater than 0 would be everything on the right of 0, right? Now, what you also need to know is that this side is positive infinity. So if you want to write it as an interval, this will be 0 to infinity. Infinity is never included. This will always be parentheses. So wherever is infinity or negative infinity, you always put parentheses. On the other side, though, that depends on the type of inequality you have. If the inequality is not strict, so it's greater than or equal to, then this endpoint, the 0, has to have a bracket, a square bracket. And then what we also sometimes do is just make this a solid dot, indicating that 0 itself is also included. So let me show you how to draw that here. So first of all, in the interval notation, let's go to interval over here. So we have 0 is included and infinity is not included. So we choose this option. So we go 0 and then infinity is over here. You can also just type two O's, two lowercase O's, and they turn into infinity. So I'll just show you that, right? Okay, so that's the first one. Now to graph it, what you do is you use the tool, the drawing tool. So we're gonna click on this, we're gonna start at 0 and go all the way to the right. And then we gotta decide whether we're gonna place a closed dot or an open dot. Now because 0 was included, because the inequality was not strict, we are going to use the closed dot. So that would be this right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to this one. So this one says x less than 4. So we want to find out what is that going to look like. So first of all, locate 4 on the number line. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 would be over here. Now this resembles letter L, so it's less than, which means that we should be shading to the left of 4. So everything to the left of 4, less than to the left. Okay, now what you also need to know is that on the left side, this is going to be negative infinity. So on the right it's positive infinity, on the left it's negative infinity. So to write it in interval notation, you're going to start at negative infinity and finish with 4. Now over here, you got to decide, is it going to be parentheses or bracket? Remember, negative infinity or infinity, that's always just parentheses. But what about 4 itself? Well, because the sign is less than and there's no equality there, then that's just going to be parentheses. And the 4 itself is going to be an empty dot. Okay, so let's see if we can graph that. So we're going to go ahead and graph everything to the left of 4. Okay, and then at 4 itself, we want to use an empty dot and place that here. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, we didn't write it in interval notation yet. Let's go to the interval. We choose this option. So negative infinity, comma 4. Nope, it should be parentheses. Okay, now it's correct because it wasn't included. 4 wasn't included. It was an open dot. Okay, the next one says x greater than 3, right? So it does not look like an L, so that's greater than. And so we'll locate 3 on a number line. And greater means to the right. So we're going to shade everything to the right. And remember, because it's not bounded, the right endpoint is going to be infinity. So how do we write this in interval notation? So we're going to start at 3 and go to infinity. But you got to be careful. Is this going to be bracket or parentheses? Well, because this is not included, the equality is not included, it's just strictly more than 3, then that would be an empty dot right here. And so there should be parentheses. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So more than 3, so we just shade to the right of 3, and then we place an empty dot right here, and an interval notation that would just be 3 infinity. Okay, the last case is x less than or equal to -2. So it does look like an L, so that's less than. Okay, so let's say 0 will be over here, -2 would be over here. So you want to shade to the left of -2. And then you got to decide, okay, what about -2 itself? Should I include it or not? Well, because this is less than or equal to, -2 itself is also included. So this would be a solid dot. Okay, now in interval notation, again, remember this is -infinity on the left. So this would be -infinity to -2. And -2 is included because that was less than or equal to. So let's see if we can graph that. So start at -2 and do that, and then we want to use the solid dot, place it here, and then this, if you go to interval, you would just select this option, -infinity to -2, and now I think I am all done.